but we're gonna get into the Q&A right now. Let's start at the bottom. I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom and start the questions from there. But if I miss your question, I apologize in advance. Sometimes this thing jumps all over the place on me and I gotta start from the bottom. So if that happens, go ahead, ask your question again. No worries. Okay, Juan S says my fish are dying and I don't know why. I can't help you if you don't give me some details, bro. Okay, Pie the Fighter says, do I keep adding stability after it's been 7 days if I'm still seeing ammonia and nitrite? Yes, very good question. Sometimes it'll take more than 7 days. So what I suggest to everybody is you need to test your nitrates. Don't worry about testing anything else while you're doing the prime and stability to get your tank cycled. You want to test nitrate. When your tank reaches about 40 parts per million of nitrate, that's when you want to do your first water change. No water changes before that, because when you do water changes, you're actually removing the ammonia and the nitrite that your bacteria need. They want it in the tank so that they can eat it and grow. So don't do any water changes. When you reach 40 parts per million of nitrate, first water change and then test for everything. If you still have ammonia and nitrite like you just mentioned, then yes, you want to continue prime and stability daily again until you reach the next 40 parts per million of nitrate. Great question.
Nice.
Okay, Joshua
Escobalis.
says, I started my tank 2 weeks ago for the nitrogen cycle with fish in it. Okay, but my nitrate did not hit 40 parts per million at the end of the second week. Then your tank isn't cycled yet. If you're not reaching 40 parts per million, you don't have enough beneficial bacteria in the tank to convert it to nitrate. So you definitely want to continue prime and stability. If you already have fish in, keep on doing it until you reach 40 parts per million of nitrate. Jamon 5000 says, how important is it to test GH and pH? First, it kind of depends on your fish, right? If you have fish that require high pH and your source water is low pH, then you're going to want to be testing your pH. When it comes to GH, I don't really mess with that too much. Probably because I don't understand it all that well, to be honest with you. But usually if you keep track of your pH, your KH and your GH will move together with your pH. So focus more on your pH. And that's if you have a difference of what your fish need and what your source water is. If what your fish need is the same as your source water, then you really don't have to
Worry about it too much.
So Christian says my pH swung to 8.8 after a move. I used tap water and the tap water 7.8. That's a huge swing, bro. Treat with prime and stability. pH recently jumped to 8.8. Have gravel and driftwood. No changes except the water I refill it with. That sounds super weird, bro. Your tap water 7.8 and your pH rose, and you have driftwood in your tank. Driftwood usually drops pH. When you have wood in your tank, that's gonna lower your pH. So this sounds a little weird to me. What kind of, you have gravel and driftwood. I'm gonna assume that you're doing the test correctly. First of all, make sure you're doing the test correctly. If you are, that's a strange one to me, bro. Trying to think off the top of my head what this could be. Your pH is increasing after a water change, but your source water is 7.8. I was gonna ask if you had maybe aragonite or something, but you say you have gravel. Gravel is not gonna raise your pH. Unless you have, maybe you have gravel. Do you have that weird colorful type gravel that has like paint on it? Maybe some of the paint is chipping away off the gravel and that's causing some kind of pH swing in your tank. You got me stumped there, Christian. I'm sorry, bro. That's very weird. I don't know what would be causing that. Jay Matthew says, I have 2 fish and 1 dies. I don't know, bro. You could have as many cats as you want. That was a good one. Robin says, is Cichlid lake salt as effective as aquarium salt for treating fungus in the quarantine tank? I'm gonna say no, because aquarium salt is just aquarium salt. It's only that, and it can help with treating fungus in the tank. Cichlid lake salt does have sodium chloride in it, but it's not gonna be as strong as just using aquarium salt on its own. But be careful with aquarium salt. You don't want to overdose that either. Giovanni says, am I selling my Buccochromis yellow? Absolutely not. No way. A Coop says, will adding water due to evaporation recycle your tank? I don't know what you mean by recycle. No, it's not going to recycle it. Do you mean like crash your cycle and make it start again? No. You can top off your tank due to evaporation, but you might still want to add. You are still going to want to dose prime, because that water that you're tapping off with has chlorine in it. So you still want to dose prime, even though it's just topping off due to evaporation. It's not going to affect your cycle or crash your cycle with topping off the water. Stephanie S says, hey Kev, I started my 29-gallon tank and still have 0 nitrite. It took 3 months to finally see ammonia. Wow. And now my tank smells like a dirty sponge. Is this from adding too much beneficial bacteria? That is a good question. 3 months to see ammonia? Usually I don't know if you have fish in the tank, Stephanie. It sounds like you don't have fish in the tank. If you're not seeing ammonia, you didn't have fish in the tank. And sometimes when you do a fishless cycle, it's a good idea to sprinkle in a little bit of food, even though there's nobody in there. That food is what's going to eventually convert itself into ammonia. It's going to deteriorate, and that's going to add ammonia into your tank. If you just left your tank sitting there without doing anything to it, you might not ever get ammonia. Maybe that's why it took you 3 months to get it. I don't know what kind of beneficial bacteria you were adding. If it's stability, that should have added. I take that back. I'm not 100% sure if stability actually adds ammonia to your tank or if it's just adding the beneficial bacteria. What you would want to do, Stephanie, if you're still having the problem, it smells like a dirty sponge. Do a big water change, first of all. Get a lot of that water out of there. Do a vacuum on your substrate. Make sure that there's not a bunch of, I don't know, you don't have fish in the tank, so I don't know what's causing the smelly water. But do a big water change and start out with prime and stability. You can add some food to the tank that's going to create ammonia in your water, and that's going to get your cycle started. You need to first introduce ammonia to the tank to get the bacteria growing. It's possible that you just had the tank sitting for too long and nothing was really happening. The cycle wasn't even kickstarting yet. That's a strange one too, Stephanie. Bassmaster says, I just added my first 6 cichlids, 2 to 3 inches yesterday. I want to add 3 to 4 inch cichlids. What are your recommendations? You can add them, that'll be fine. Just make sure that when you do add them, that you are dosing with stability. You're going to increase your bioload when you add new fish into the tank. So adding some stability every time you add new fish is going to help in boosting the bacteria to make sure it handles the extra ammonia that you're now going to have inside your tank. If you didn't mention what kind of cichlids, if they're African cichlids, it's a good idea to do a water change first. Reduce your water levels. It gets everybody a little bit crazy. Everybody a little bit like, hey, what's going on in here? And then that's a good time to add brand new fish in the tank. Adding 6, or you're going to add 3 to 4, that's a great number. That's the number you want to add if you're adding African cichlids. And you should be fine with that. Jay Speedy says, I just added an FX4. Currently running a 407 with it. I have 2 wave makers, but I still see some poop on the sand just hanging out. What should I do? Upgrade my wave makers? You didn't say the size of your tank, so I don't know how big your tank is and if the 2 wave makers will be enough. But it could also be the position of the wave makers, the angle that you have them in, or if they're in the right direction with your outputs from your FX4. If you're not creating that circular pattern, you might still have some dead spots in your tank, and that could be why your poop is not finding the intakes and getting out of there. It may not necessarily be upgrading your wave makers. It may just be adjusting the positions of them so that you get that circular pattern. Gina says, please help. Put algae remover, algicide, in my cichlid tank. I wouldn't do that. And I think my parrotfish has got burns. Should I just take them all out of the tank? I'm so scared. They're my babies. Gina, do a big water change right now. Yeah, right now, even during the stream. Do a big water change. Get whatever you put in that water out of there. You do not need to add any of these crazy products to get rid of algae. There's many other natural things you could do, like reducing your light, like reducing your food, like adding algae eating fish, things like that. A lot of those things are covered in my book. So Gina, I highly suggest you get the book. But do a water change right now. Get whatever's out of there, out of there. Fishing with Tay. Fishing with Tay says, what's up, Kev? I had my fish for a month and they're not breeding. Okay. I've been doing consistent water changes, feeding them properly, more than enough hiding spaces. Any advice on what I'm doing wrong? Well, I don't know what kind of fish you have. Certain fish breed in different ways. But it could be, I mean, first of all, you want to make sure you have males and females. Sometimes there's certain type of fish that they have to become like a mated pair in order to mate. Other water parameters like pH and temperature and stuff like that might prevent them from mating. There's a whole bunch of things that can cause them to mate or not mate. So that's a tough one to answer, bro. Jonathan Felt says, if your pH in your tank is 7.9 and your tap is 6.9, how do you keep pH up? You can raise the pH in your tank with a couple of different sources. The best way to do it is with a natural source like your substrate. If you get aragonite sand or crushed coral, those type of substrates will release minerals into your water that will buffer the water and will raise the pH and keep it raised and keep it stable. That's the best way to do it. If you don't want to change your substrate, because I know that can be tough, another option is to put some crushed coral inside of a media bag and then put that bag inside your filters. That will keep water flowing through it, and the crushed coral will release its minerals into the water that's going through it and raise your pH as well. Another method besides that, the non-natural way, Seachem has a buffer that they sell that you can dose your water with the buffer, and the buffer will raise your pH as well. But I highly suggest that you go the natural way, because constantly dosing products to raise your pH will cause you to start chasing it. You may not dose the same way every time. You may not remove the same amount of water every time. So you're going to be messing with the pH levels too much. So I usually suggest go the natural way. Another form is also limestone rock. If you get limestone rock, that's another good way of raising your pH as well.